Hi, I'm David with EV World News. We're talking about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. And I'm back today on a Wednesday with our founder and chief editor, Bill Moore. How's it going, Bill?
Well, it's going fine, thank you. If you could look out that back window, there is no ash tree there anymore.
Uh-oh.
Tree service came by this morning and did a quick job, 30-minute job on taking out the ash tree, which fell victim to the ash borer disease. And I figured rather than, have a skeleton out looking out my backyard, I'd remove it and open the space back up. So I did that. And yesterday, of course, I was busy doing medical transport work. That didn't quite. We were going to do the podcast yesterday, and the medical transporting thing for a relative of mine had changed everything. So here we are on a Wednesday, displacing Mike. Dang it!
Yeah, it's funny having a tree removed. It's funny because in that space, the pricing is so random. It's almost like they roll a bunch of dice to determine what the price is going to be, because there's no rhyme or reason to tree trimming or tree removal pricing ever that I've ever noticed in that space.
We were estimating, you sort of get in your mind how much you think going to cost. So we were estimating a number that was significantly higher than what they quoted.
Oh, that's good. You can just take what you come up with your head and multiply it times 3, and that's probably
no. We definitely overthought the thing. We still ended up paying. We agreed on one price, and we ended up paying $50 more than what they quoted us. But that's okay. What I did is I had them, rather than have them haul, because they grind the tree up, right? And in the front, tie up the street. There's trucks everywhere out there. And so I had I'd like to keep those chips if you guys would. So they ground up the tree, and what's left of the tree is now mulch in my backyard. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and get started here, folks.
Oh, yeah. We should probably talk about electric cars and things, right?
And things. Well, my first article is on nuclear fusion. It's getting closer to grid reality. I'm skeptical of this. You know how I am about fusion.
Yeah.
Commonwealth Fusion Systems in Massachusetts is 75% done building a demonstration tokamak. Now, tokamak is what you run a fusion reaction in. I don't know what the word represents, but I've seen it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of long acronym for it.
They're saying it'll be operational by late 27. That's far enough in the future that maybe people will have forgotten by then. Okay. So if successful, a 400 megawatt fall line fusion power station in Virginia targets grid connection in the 2030s. Already has buyers from Google and E&I who have signed PPAs, protecting taxpayers from first-of-a-kind costs. Applied to PJM as a grid operator, a years-long process, first fusion plant seeking U.S. grid interconnection. Now, as I've said before, fusion reactions have been done. Now, fusion is where you're bringing deuterium and tritium together at 70 million degrees and fusing them together. Like I said before, it's the hottest point in the universe when that's actually successful.
In that little tiny spot.
Yes.
Where in Virginia, is that where it's going to be?
Yeah. I think they're saying they're going to have the articles from Massachusetts. That's where Commonwealth Fusion is based.
Okay.
I'm sure it's a bunch of MIT people, right?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not stupid. Okay. I'm not saying anybody's dumb here. My lack of optimism is I'm familiar with the fusion
space.
Fuel.
Right.
Well, their supply chain. They need tritium, which doesn't exist in meaningful quantities. And tritium can only be made in a reaction involving lithium-6, which we have to get from the Russians.
Of course.
Okay. And so I'm just saying there's not a good place to get lithium-6 right now. And there's not a good place to get tritium right now. You can get tritium in really tiny amounts. It sells for $30,000 to $50,000 a gram.
Yeah.
Gram. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's crazy how expensive it is, and it can only be made by fission nuclear reactors. So you have to have fission nuclear reactors
To
set
make
up,
tritium for,
make
right.
tritium for
Yeah.
a fusion
Wow.
reactor. And
Yep.
so the problem is all the people who want to go live with fusion are going to need a damn lot of fission nuclear reactors out cranking out um, the fuel as a byproduct.
Yeah. Does anybody do that? I mean, we've got a lot of nuclear reactors
Not in the United
either
States.
active, being activated, or being planned.
So I'm working on a tech that they made in Japan that can do it, but currently nobody has deployed this ever anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Canada has something like 19 what are called CANDU light water reactors. The
Exactly. Yeah.
CANDU reactors make tritium as a byproduct of
Okay.
the process. They produce approximately 2 kilograms of tritium per year across those 19. That would be enough to fuel this 400 megawatt station for probably 6 months.
Yeah, there is sort of a supply chain
Yeah,
issue.
I'm just saying, and there's something like 95 companies around the world trying to bring fusion technology to market.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying there's going to be a huge shortage in that space. And it's, well, I'm talking about it, but I don't really hear other people really bringing it up. I did get a note from Mike that there was an award to somebody to produce lithium 6 at Oak Ridge.
Okay.
Okay. And anyways, it didn't go out for bid. It was just notification that it had been awarded
Yeah.
and didn't go out for bid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
But this isn't a company that's producing lithium 6, so they have to figure out how to produce it.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying it can be done. It's just that right now China makes it. China makes it and Russia makes it, but they won't export it to the U.S.
Oh no, hell no.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm just saying. And then when you make lithium 6, it has a byproduct called lithium 7. Lithium 7 is necessary for a molten salt reactor. So, like Kairos, which is broken ground
Right.
on a reactor site, they need lithium 7 in order to go live. And they're in
How,
the same boat.
how long did it take you to get up to speed on this?
Less than a year.
Okay.
Less than a year. And I will tell you, I can really say that AI has made learning so much easier.
Oh,
I've
I
learned
agree.
so
Yeah.
much in just the past year because I spend so much time on AI researching things, and it gives me much more nuanced perspectives than people with bias who are writing what they think you want to know.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting. But no, I've gotten really deep into what's going on in the supply chains, what's going on in different spaces, and
Go ahead.
well, I'm just saying it's really shocking to see. People have all their arguments against nuclear, or whatever. It's like nuclear's got enough problems without you arguing about it. I mean, it's not that it's going to go bad. It's just that it might not get deployed. If some of these issues,
It's still
supply chain
50
aren't
years,
resolved.
50 years away, or 10 years, or 20, or whatever number they're using.
Yeah. Well, even let's say this one. Let's say somehow it is live and commercially operating by 2031. Okay. Let's just say it is. It's not going to be producing 400 megawatts. It might be producing 100 megawatts just because of the fuel shortage. Okay.
Yeah.
But right now, when you have, okay, and a megawatt is 1/1000th of a gigawatt. Okay. This is Virginia we're talking about. We're talking about 100, 1/10 of a gigawatt. They have a single data center that's one of the two biggest in the world. That's going to increase, the carbon emissions of Virginia's grid by 35%, uses 8 gigawatts. It would need
Oh, Lord.
80 of these.
80 of these. Yeah.
Yes. I'm just saying it is, people always in it. Look, I'm a huge nuclear proponent. I love the fusion idea. And people talk about how it's going to solve this and solve that. And it's like,
Yeah.
Not soon. Not
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, nuclear is the answer, whether it be fission or fusion, but it's not going to be quick.
No.
And
No.
the AI situation is so critical. We're going to talk about this some more on the show today, that it's really driving things in a bad way.
Yeah.
The
Will we have a chance to talk about AI personalities?
we might, but
Right.
I'm going to go
Go
right
ahead.
into something. So NERC, which is the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, issued what's called a rare level 3 alert. There were several incidents in 24 and 25, and this has to do with data centers, where all of a sudden the data center that was taking a gigawatt of energy decided to just turn off the electricity, so they could do something. And they hadn't notified the grid that this was going to happen. And the grid was not ready to handle the gigawatt backup.
Okay, now, all right, now, so they're going to do something that would need that, or that they were shutting the system down to reboot or something, and so they didn't need that gigawatt. I'm a little confused.
Well, okay, so they needed to do something. Maybe an electrician didn't want to get electrocuted, but they had to
Right?
shut off the power for a brief period of time
Okay, all
so they
right,
could do some things. Okay.
right, gotcha.
And but we're talking a whole gigawatt.
Yeah,
Okay. We're talking massive amounts of energy that would power like 500,000 homes.
yeah,
Okay. And this is one of the things, Mike has talked about a lot, is that the grid was designed to be flowing in one direction.
yeah,
It wasn't really intended to be multi-directional, even though the wires can handle it. That wasn't the
yeah,
original intent when it was
right.
designed. And so they've had multiple incidents. Data center computational load unexpectedly disconnected from the grid at once, raising concerns about blackouts. NERC had analyzed numerous load loss events across the East Coast and Texas that weren't predicted by planning studies. These customer-initiated large load reductions occurred in seconds, leaving little or no room for real-time responses and jeopardizing the grid stability as a result. To the people who turned it off, they just looked at it as turning off the light switch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it didn't occur to them that,
It turned off the whole block neighborhood.
yeah, I mean, when you're talking a gigawatt, you're talking a grid scale single cooling tower nuclear reactor shooting
Yeah,
power, and all of a sudden you're just saying, hey, we don't need that power all of a sudden.
right.
So they're calling for a major regulatory shift to address blind spots among utilities, grid operators, and data center owners. It plans to register companies with computational loads of at least 20 megawatts. So we're talking 2%
Right.
of a gigawatt, such as Amazon, Google, and Meta, and eventually subject them to reliability standards similar to those for power plants. Which it seems, that seems very fair. I mean, some of these places, like we said, 8 gigawatts. I mean, man, what a load. I mean, I'm working with somebody on a 2 gigawatt project in Florida, and he'd like to go to some nuclear at some point, and he's a solar industry guy.
Yeah.
But he can only, at max, he could only ever maybe get 5% of the overall use of that center from solar. Just can't pump out enough.
Yeah.
So some of it's just outrageous, the amount of energy that some of these things are talking about. And if somebody was like, oh, we could supply that with waste energy, but of course we'd have to go to wood chips, and it's like, well, that's cutting down an awful lot of trees to
Yeah.
convert to waste energy to do that. It's not really truly waste energy at that point.
No.
Right. A lot of times, like you were talking about your tree being chipped up, I was thinking, well, haul it off to the waste energy plant, which we don't have here that I know about.
Right.
And convert it into fuel, but you could do that in your backyard too if you wanted, if you had the right equipment.
Yeah, there we go. Well, probably could pryalize it and make
tropes. Yeah, I think it's called like a tropes fisher machine or something like that.
Right, exactly.
It'll convert it to gas.
Convert it to gas, and I can convert it to a liquid fuel. Yeah, because that's basically what they were doing in Nazi Germany. To try to supplement the fuel that was being being bombed in Ploesti and, and things
Right.
like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was Volkswagens. There were wood burning Volkswagens, and
I saw there's somebody is running in this country. I think what was it, like a Ford Ranger or something, that they were running using wood chips, right? They were gasifying the chips and they were using the gas off of that to run their engine. So, yeah, it
it's
could
not
be
new
done.
technology.
No, no. But the pollution level coming out of that thing, oh man.
Oh, really? From wood chips?
Well, sure. You've got first of all, it's not a clean byproduct. You're
No,
going to
no, I
have.
know.
So yeah, I don't know. I'd have to check with AI, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there's a bunch of
I know
contaminants
that
that we don't want to be breathing.
I know that burning coal in your fireplace is cleaner than burning wood, but not by a lot.
Not by a lot, no,
No,
no.
but it was an improvement, right? But anyways, let me see. The risk is growing for the grid as hyperscalers plan to connect gigawatt scale data centers in the coming years, which could rival the power consumption of mid-sized U.S. cities. Demand from U.S. data centers could reach 106 gigawatts by 2035, according to Bloomberg NEF. Developers are facing delays due to grid congestion and rising local opposition. I mean, it's not just using your power, it's also using your water. And that's a big one too, because they need the water for cooling.
For cooling, yeah.
Yeah, and some of this is going to change. I think technology is going to fix some of this. You're going to start seeing the data
It
centers.
happens. I'm almost wondering if it's like the Bitcoin thing, where one of the biggest drawbacks of Bitcoin is the fact that requires so much computational power that it ends up, being a huge energy drain. So they started developing others. We were talking earlier about, crypto and some of the software that followed, the development software that followed, was used a different kind of a calculating mechanism, which cut the amount of energy consumption to a fraction of what it is with Bitcoin. So I'm hoping that's kind of what we discover as a way to do all these computations without having to consume the planet.
Yeah. All right. So let's switch to talk about Elon. Okay, because the show is never complete if we don't talk about Elon.
Sure, why not?
All right.
You and
now,
my favorite entrepreneur.
We're expecting SpaceX to go public at a $1.75 trillion valuation. And Musk has talked about sending people to Mars, but so far, how many people has he sent to Mars so far?
Not a one. Not
They
a one. And his sports car with the dummy inside sort of, I think, got kind of close to outside the orbit where, theoretically it could be reached to Mars if they programmed it to do that. But there's nobody.
Yeah. Okay. So nobody so far. So SpaceX board has approved a compensation plan giving Musk 200 million super voting shares if he hits some KPIs. Okay. If you don't know what a KPI is, it's key performance indicator. These are things you have to accomplish at your job.
Okay. That's what it stands for. Okay.
Okay. And these are some low bars. They're supposed to go public at 1.75 trillion. Musk has to hit 2 KPIs to get the 200 million super voting shares. Has to hit a $7.5 trillion valuation. And has to have a Mars colony with 1 million plus people on it. 1 million plus people.
Yes, right.
So if you think that your job is trying to give you some goals that may be hard to reach, this is what Musk is looking at. Now, he gets an additional 60.4 million shares as SpaceX operates space data centers with 100 terawatts of compute capacity. Now, a terawatt is 1,000 gigawatts.
Right. 1,000 gigawatts is 1,000.
Yeah. So that's 100,000 gigawatts of compute capacity in space. Okay. So if you think, now I realize that these are pretty big bonuses. Okay. These bonuses are
Yeah.
respectively, hundreds of billions, maybe $1 trillion. Okay. But still, it's going to create competition between SpaceX and Tesla for Musk's attention per compensation experts. It's like it already does. I suspect he spends more time on SpaceX than he does on Tesla anyway.
I would guess, yeah.
But SpaceX is targeting an IPO around Musk's June 28th birthday at a 1.75 trillion valuation. Oh, his birthday's only 2 days off of mine. Oh, well. He's a Cancer, just like me.
No, I don't know if I'd want to be.
Anyways, yeah, but I get such a kick out of that. It's like, man, yeah, what did they set for goals for you this year? Well, I got to put 1 million people on Mars to get my extra shares. Now, there's no time limit on that, which is good for Musk, right? He's not good on time limits, but
How old is he now? Is he in his early 50s?
yeah, I think he's around 50. Maybe
Yeah,
51,
yeah,
52.
yeah. So he's got, 40 years.
Yeah.
Of course, depending how fast and loose he lives, how many kids he begets between now and then.
Well, yeah, they could all be his kids too.
Yeah.
You never know. He's working on
He
it.
could just populate with all the kids he's begotten.
Once he got to 10 kids, he started having twins.
Interesting.
Yeah, so he's doubling up. Let's see. All right. Well, I thought that was some quite interesting statistics. All right. Let's move on to California. California allows the police to ticket driverless vehicles.
That is
starting in July. California police can ticket autonomous vehicles directly when they break traffic laws. Targets Tesla Robotaxi and Cybercab, Waymo, and cruise fleets. Company treated as the driver. Repeat offenses risk permit limits, or suspension, giving regulators clearer oversight as AV deployments scale. Yeah, well, you don't want them violating traffic laws. I mean, they should be able to, at a minimum, be able to handle that. Where you get into weird situations is when you're going like to construction zones that weren't there yesterday. It's like, how quickly should the AI pick up that somebody all of a sudden stuck up a sign that said the speed limit dropped by 20 miles per hour? And I assume the cameras should be able to ascertain that something's out there. But on the flip side, at the same time, hopefully it's not picking up that you're like on, highway I-80, and you see the 80 sign, think that that's the speed limit,
Right.
I'm sure they're much smarter than that, but still, it makes you wonder. Or then you're going down I-29, you wonder why there's a car going 29 miles per hour down the freeway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked on this because, I published several of those headlines. And I said, well, how the heck does this actually work? For example, I used AI to take and create a situation where there's a cyber cab and there's a patrol car behind it and an officer standing there, writing a ticket, right? Well, that's not actually how it happens. It turns out that what happens is the officer can follow the vehicle, will put on his lights, his sirens and things, and supposedly the AI in the car will recognize that it's being asked to pull over. So it then finds the closest place to pull over. Then the officer just sits in the car and files an electronic report of what the violation was, what the car was that, did the violation, where it happened, the date, the pertinent facts, right? That gets electronically transmitted to the state, who then sends it to the violating company, who then has to respond to that, demonstrating that they have taken action to address that problem. And if they don't, then other punitive measures will take place. And apparently there is some fines involved in it. But what I've asked the AIs, I said, this sounds like what is happening now. is police officers are now becoming quality assurance software engineers.
There you go.
Because what are they doing? They're finding a bug in the code and they're reporting the bug in the code for the company to fix the bug in the code, right? So yeah, it's interesting. There's so any illustrations you see, and I've got a couple of them on the website, they show an officer standing there writing a ticket. That ain't how it happens. So
yeah, well, hopefully they're not smashing out the taillights or breaking anybody's window either.
well,
breaking the guy's window because they can't see the driver.
Yeah.
Realize there's no driver there.
Well, I've told this story before where I was driving the original Japanese model of the Prius with the right-hand drive.
Right.
And I was driving around Omaha and got pulled over because my wife was shooting video from the left-hand seat, and the officer thought that she was driving and running a video camera at the same time. So he pulls up behind the car. I could watch. I see he gets out and he stops and he looks, and then he finally comes over to my side. He says, "Oh, I'm sorry." I said, "I pulled you over because I thought your wife was, driving the car." I said, "No, this is Japanese car." So he let me go. It was not a problem. But
that's because in Nebraska, women aren't allowed to drive. So he was confused.
Well, yeah, no. They're not allowed to drive and hold a video camera in their hand at the same time.
Okay.
So, yeah.
We're not that backwards of a state, right?
No, we're pretty good.
Yeah, I wonder when women got the right to drive in Nebraska. I'm just kidding. I have no idea.
Oh, yeah, who knows?
Probably as soon as cars came out. Anyways,
actually, now that you mention that, there are some photographs on the internet that are set in the late teens or early 1920s. I think probably the late teens from the dress, and maybe even earlier than that, where there is a woman with an electric car getting ready to plug it in her garage.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, it's funny to think that there was electric cars 100+ years ago. And
yeah.
They disappeared for 80 years. All right. So Motley Fool says their top EV stock picks for May are BYD and QuantumScape. Now, I'm really, BYD does a lot of great things, electric vehicle space. Clearly, it's a Chinese stock. I think that's really poor advice, telling anybody to invest in a Chinese stock.
No kidding.
Okay, for multiple reasons I won't get in here, even if it costs me social credits. But QuantumScape is kind of interesting. They're in the battery space.
Yep.
They are about a $5 billion market cap. So they were kind of interesting.
Is that the Israeli company? No, that Southern California, maybe, I think.
San Jose.
Yeah, San Jose, right.
San Jose. Yeah.
Silicon Valley.
Yeah. Here's 6 months for them. They've risen from about $7.25 up to $7.89 over the course of 5 months this year. Nothing dramatic. Gone up almost 9% for the year, but it's kind of interesting pick, I think. They don't have a PE ratio, which means they're not profitable. Let's see. QuantumScape Corporation, an American company, researches and develops solid-state rechargeable lithium metal batteries for use in electric cars. Was founded in 2010 and is headquartered in San Jose. Employs around 850 people. Major investors include Volkswagen and Bill Gates. It's I don't know. It's kind of an interesting stock. I don't know whether I'd recommend it, but it looks like it's something that, we got a year. It's been higher. Go 5 years. It's been a lot higher a few years ago. Seems like it's probably a company that started out hot and then just dropped over time.
Wow. Yeah. No kidding. Look at that.
Yeah, that's all time. That's all time. It's down 20% all time. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting one to pick. this far out into the company's life. BYD, though, being a Chinese company, not
Yeah.
really a big fan of it. We have an ETF for electric vehicles, for electric and autonomous vehicles called Drive, DRIV.
Okay.
And it's one that I'm going to show it on the chart. And I've got the 1 year chart up. And it's not something I've ever looked at before until I was researching these stocks. And I thought, this one's kind of interesting. It avoids really deep investment in the big three American electric vehicle companies. What's really sad is, of the big three, it's really the big one and then the two little ones, right?
Yeah.
You got Tesla as the 800-pound gorilla. Then you've got Rivian and Lucid, who also happen to make electric cars, but they're not really very big. But this company, this is the past year, has gone up, from was it $21 to $39? They've almost doubled in the past year. They're up 80% year over year. Let's see. It has
That's the EFT has done that.
the ETF.
Or the ETF, yeah.
Yeah. It has 327 million in net assets and a PE ratio of 29. So it's making money. It's just kind of interesting to see that this is here. It's got a 3-year return of 21%, which isn't amazing, but I thought that was kind of interesting that this exists. Apparently you can trade it on Coinbase, which that's kind of fascinating. But I just thought I would share that. It's something a little bit different that we hadn't talked about. Let's see. See what I got here. United Kingdom EV prices have fallen below petrol cars. So heavy manufacturer discounts have pushed the average UK EV price to be cheaper than a gas car for the first time. Auto Trader says shift driven by incentives, not permanent structural change. Long-term pricing depends on whether discounts persist and battery cost trajectories. Well, we know the batteries keep getting cheaper, and it's just a matter of time before this is the case everywhere. Electric vehicles keep becoming, more and more cost effective.
I was talking to the gentleman that runs the tree service that got us, and he was saying that diesel, I think he paid is like over $5 a gallon. He says, I filled up the truck and it cost me, I think he said $380 to fill up my bucket, basically his bucket truck, where they got really big trees that, in mine, I was surprised. It just came a long pole, he cut mine down with a long pole chainsaw. But they brought the bucket truck, I guess, just in case. But the $380, he says, over five. He said it was $5.37 a gallon for diesel here locally.
Wow. You said you had something else you wanted to discuss today.
Oh, what was it? Yeah, probably not. Oh, I wanted to. Hold on. Let me bring up the website to refresh my memory because we got so many other things we've been talking about. Okay, down in the, we wanted basically on AI. I wrote I like to use the AI, and generally I use Copilot for this, to take and give me a summary of an article that I think is important to share with people. So this morning, while I was waiting for the tree service to come along, I had all 5 different AIs up, and I gave them the very same input. God, why am I losing my
prompt? In the same prompt.
Very same prompt. So I asked them the very same prompt, and they all gave me different answers. And so I got to think, well, this is kind of like, human beings or pets, right? They all have a different, they gave me a correct answer, except Copilot. And I'll explain that in a minute. So they all gave me different answers, but they were just slightly different. And I thought, well, that's kind of like having your your dogs that you've owned have different personalities, or your kids, growing up, they have different personalities. So I wrote a piece down in the EV World Exclusives about discovering the many personalities of AI.
Mhm.
So I was not happy with Copilot, right? It's like the little naughty kid, And I said, okay, you're saying that this is not what the article. I looked, I said, well, it's this and this and this. No, it's not. Where is this coming from? So I corrected it. Said, oh, you're right, and then it corrected itself again, but it still wasn't right. I said, yeah, but this is not a vehicle that was purchased from the auction. It's still labeled Waymo, and this is. Oh yeah, you're right. Let me rewrite it, right? So it finally gets around. I've got an addendum at the end of the article to the answer it finally gave me after I corrected it several times just to get it squared in line. So I thought, yeah, this is kind of like my kids growing up. They both have different personalities, or the many dogs I have owned in my life. All of them a little different, in their personality. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that. So when
It sounds like you had Copilot hallucinate.
I think I did. I don't know where he came up with some of the stuff that this was a Weltmeister Motors or something, and it was bought at auction. I thought, where's this coming from? He said, well, because the vehicle looks like a vehicle that had come up to auction somewhere. So anyway.
Yeah, it is funny. You got very different answers from all of the different possibilities.
From the very same prompt or the very same article.
Oh my God, that minivan can have 500 horsepower.
Yeah. And a pardon my French, buttload of sensors. It's amazing what they've got on top of that thing.
Wow. Yeah, that's very interesting. It's one of the problems though with AI is sometimes you can just have a chat with it, but if you really need something serious, you really have to focus on the quality of the prompt. And sometimes you need to ask AI, what is the best prompt for what I'm trying to do?
That's
why I like one of the AIs I use. That's one of the super agents that picks who it's going to go to. It asks a whole bunch of clarifying questions before it runs a job.
Yeah.
So it really wants to get, more focused on what it is. Anyways, that's all we got for today. I'm planning on being back with Mike. Let me just see here. We're going to do a little earlier, but we're going to do Friday this week. Right. So Mike and I.
Then next Tuesday, I play election clerk all day long for our primary election here in Nebraska. So do you want to do Wednesday again?
Yeah, we're going to do Wednesday next week.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a great day.